Hello everybody and welcome to another video here on Philly Sports Network. Training camp started today down at the Novacare complex, but already the Eagles have had one player opt out of playing in 2020 due to the current COVID pandemic. The man in question is former Niners wideout Marquise Goodwin, someone that was traded for during the NFL draft window in a deal that saw the teams switch 6th round picks. So it seemed like a no-brainer at the time. Goodwin came in, reportedly restructured his deal, and looked like he may be looking for a resurgence in Philadelphia. His career up to this point had been mired by inconsistencies and injuries. That iconic 2017 season where he had 967 yards still stands out as a potential ceiling for what the 29-year-old could bring to the table. He was a true burner. He has 4.29 40-yard dash speed stashed in his back pocket, but he decided to do what was best for him and his family. Back in November 2018, Goodwin and his wife heartbreakingly lost the lives of their unborn twins. It was so tragic, and Goodwin then went out and scored a touchdown the very next game. It was incredibly emotional to watch. 5 months ago, Goodwin's wife gave birth to a healthy baby, so you can understand why Goodwin would not want to put his family through the stress, through the paranoia, through the concern of playing in the NFL with all of this going on, especially when you look at what's just happened in MLB. So nobody can fault Goodwin for his decision. I, for one, wish him all the best. I really do. I agree with his judgment as a father and a husband. He has made absolutely the right decision, but from a footballing perspective, it's obviously changed things a little bit for the Eagles. Two wide receivers in particular, the first of which is Watkins, of course, someone that was drafted in the 6th round by the Philadelphia Eagles, and someone whose film didn't really set the world on fire for me in the same way that John Hightower's did. He's got 4.35 speed, but it didn't show to me on film. Like, you've got someone at 6 foot that can go up and get jump balls, but the play speed really hurt me. It wasn't apparent on film that he was a speedster, and I feel like the coaching staff would need some time to get him, if you pardon the pun, up to speed, to really get him acclimatized with the play bit, with his surroundings, and of course find ways to get the most out of what is a very athletic profile. It was always going to be a tall order for Watkins to make the roster, because if we look at what I would perceive to be an accurate depth chart roughly right now, your starting X receiver would be JJ Arcega-Whiteside, Deshaun Jackson still your man at Z at the moment, and without Marquise Goodwin there, we're going to touch on Greg Ward in just a little bit. John Hightower gets a bump up, and that 6th spot now should theoretically go to Watkins. So it's fantastic news for a 6th round pick. He would have at the very least been battling his heart out for a roster spot, and at the very most been clinging on to one for dear life. So he should now have a little bit of serenity, a little bit of peace, and a slightly less pressurable summer to go in, make an impact, and really start making up some ground. The other man in question though is Greg Ward Jr. I've mentioned this plenty of times this year already, that Greg Ward Jr.'s breakout was amazing. He's a fan favourite. His story of being a former quarterback, transitioning to wide receiver, being on and off the team over 3 years, going to the Alliance of American Football and coming back, and over the course of 4 games in 2019, amassing over 200 yards on 20 catches and that beautiful touchdown against the Washington Redskins in the clutch, his first ever NFL touchdown. It was a fitting end to his first campaign fully as a Philadelphia Eagle, but oddly he was on the outside looking in. If we go back to that depth chart, let's not forget Goodwin perennially could be a slot receiver, and if the Eagles do want to use that speed, well, let's say they want Jalen Reagor and Deshaun Jackson on the field at the same time. Jackson played 40% of his snaps out of the slot for Tampa Bay, and we're forgetting that in week 1, that touchdown against the Redskins came from the slot. Jackson did work from the slot for the Eagles. So it would make sense then that if they want to stretch the field, if they want to present matchup nightmares, and they want both Reagor and Jackson on the field, Jackson would shuffle inside. If they don't, then you've got Goodwin as that gadget player on orbits and sweeps that can do a lot of damage with that open space speed. With Goodwin out of the picture, it should at least put Greg Ward Jr. into the primary slot role. If they want a speed package, I think Jackson and Reagor are still there, but you need a reliable slot target. There is nothing to suggest Greg Ward isn't that. If anything, we've got the inverse argument here. So I, for one, would say that Greg Wall Jr.'s roster spot should be a little bit more cemented. And I don't think it was ever dramatically in danger, but it was certainly not a given, let's be honest here. So to see Greg Wall Jr. back in the running in that primary slot role is very, very encouraging. Eagles will now have 10 receivers to keep an eye on in camp. Deontay Burnett, Robert Davis, and Manchi Bailey will be the other 3 not mentioned in today's video. Those will really be the guys fighting for spots on the practice squad as camp rages on. But what do you think about Marquise Goodwin's decision, and of course what it means for the Eagles roster? Let me know down in the comments section below. From myself, Liam Jenkins, we'll see you soon.